Hello, welcome or welcome back, my favorite movement enthusiasts. Today we will go through a mobility session, or more precisely, through the exercises you're gonna require to build some insane hamstring and through that posterior chain mobility. We're gonna work through every single muscle, tendon and ligament required to get us into that position. We're gonna do it now. So if you're ready, let's get right into it. Before we get into the stretching itself, we need to address the cheating. Most people that I see working on their hamstring mobility, and I'm pretty sure some of you do this too, and you need to be careful not to fall into the same mistake, because this is a big one. So when we try to touch our toes, there are a couple of mechanisms we can use to make it easier for ourselves, and that is practically cheating. Number one, instead of being in a 90-degree angle to the ground, you move your butt backwards. This is gonna require far less stretching and far less mobility in your Achilles tendon, in your gastroc and soleus, and even a little bit less in your biceps. So the first thing we need to do is try and stay in a 90-degree angle to the ground. The next thing you see most, and I mean literally most people do, is instead of try to touch down like so, they lengthen their shoulders and try to compensate for a lack of hamstring mobility with shoulder mobility. So instead of pulling my shoulder blades together and extending my arms, I just lengthen them, which is going to make it far easier to grab on to my toes. Those are two things we need to be careful about, because this is going to give us the illusion that we have flexibility that we don't have, and that is a problem. So now that we have addressed the most common mistakes people make, let's try and start at the lowest level and work our way up through every single muscle group required to stretch to get us into that nice position. We're gonna start out with our calves, our Achilles tendon and our foot musculature. All we need to do for that is look for any place where we can grab on, and then we're gonna decrease the angle in our ankle. The ankle angle, decrease it by bringing our extended leg forward like so. We are going to work one-sided, because then we can concentrate on what we are doing. And what's very important is you want to push your heel actively down towards the ground, so your heel doesn't raise up. If it does, that means your ankle is too small for you and you need to reverse again. So as you can see, I move forward, decreasing the angle, which brings me to more and more and more stretch in my lower leg musculature. Once I notice, oh, my heel is raising from the ground, that is way too far and I need to reverse again. We're gonna hold every single static stretch for 30 seconds for every round, and we're gonna do 3 to 4 rounds, which moves us further up our leg musculature to our biceps femoris, the back side of our upper leg, and the insertions right behind our knee. We're gonna extend both legs, keep them closed, and now we want to bring that 90-degree angle to the ground, or even slightly smaller. Extend both legs, and from here all you need to do is change from spinal flexion, which is a rounded back, to spinal extension, especially in your lower back. So you're tilting your pelvis from here all the way into extension. And if you do not feel a stretch here, that means you're a little bit more flexible, and now you can move down a little bit lower. What's really important is to keep that tension in your spinal erectors, the lower musculature in your spine, instead of letting loose, because if you do, you're going to release all the tension we are building in our hamstrings. And if you want to have a little bit of fun with it, you can move backwards to release some tension, and then move forward to increase it once more. As we said, we're gonna hold every single static stretch for 30 seconds, meaning if you're just gonna hold without moving, that is 30 seconds for you. If you wanna work dynamically, you can by moving back and forward, hold for a couple of seconds, reverse, and repeat. Now we're pretty much done with our lower leg musculature and most of the backside of our upper leg musculature. Now we can move on to our glute stretches and the upper side of our hamstring insertions, and that's really easy. All you need to do is bring your leg as closely as possible to your upper body. If you struggle with balance standing on one foot, you can do this laying on your back, or you can even just put it somewhere on an elevation and pull it closer to your body as closely as you can. A good way to measure if you are very flexible in your glutes is if you can bring your upper leg into full contact, your quadriceps into full contact with your abdominal musculature. If you can, that means you're pretty flexible in your glutes and you can probably move on to the next stage. Which moves us to the next muscle in our posterior chain that needs to be stretched in order to get deeper into that pike or forward fold, which will be our spinal erectors. And to lengthen those, we're gonna go into a quadrupedal position. We're gonna round our back, this time move into complete spinal flexion, rounding our back fully, lengthening our back fully. Now we're gonna push back just slightly. You can see my feet are on my toes, just so I don't move all the way back right away. We're gonna stay here and hold for 20 to 30 seconds. Try and lengthen your back as much as you can. Really pull your arms forward, because lengthening your upper back is gonna make it a little bit easier to lengthen your lower back as well. Really push into spinal flexion. You can flex your abdominals to get you even more into that back rounding. And then you can release for a couple of seconds in spinal extension before we move on to repeat once more. If this is a little bit too exhausting for you, there is absolutely no problem in sitting back all the way, as long as you can keep your back fully rounded, your spine fully flexed. You can also sit back. And now we're finally ready to put everything we've just learned together, and we have 3 different ways in which we will be stretching our hamstrings. Let's start out with the first standing variation. We have to keep everything in mind step by step. Number 1, decrease the angle in your ankles. You can even have your hands here just to support a little bit, or if you have something to hold on to, no problem, just do that. Next up, we're gonna switch from spinal flexion into spinal extension, lengthening our biceps, and then we're gonna pull our shoulders together and try and touch the ground. Hold and release. Hold and release. Now, that is not the full range of motion. Of course, starting at a specific point, your back will have to round, so you can actually bring your upper body all the way to your legs. But as long as you cannot touch the ground with shoulders pulled together and back extended, you're not there yet. Once you have reached the level of touching here, then it is time to start rounding and pulling your upper body closer and closer and closer towards your legs. Now there is a second option that is going to make this a little bit easier, and for this one we need to sit down, because what we can do in the seated position is pull our legs closer so we can grab here and then start extending them. Once we have, we will again try and pull our toes closer, smaller angle, and extend our spinal erectors fully. And when we want to release, we can pull our legs in, take a short break, a couple of deep breaths, and extend once more. This at the very least gives you a little bit of help by holding on to something and using a little bit of your own muscle strength towards that goal. Which brings us to our third, final and hardest technique. We're going to use reciprocal inhibition. We've talked about this so many times before. You can check out any of the videos where I mention how it works. But basically, we're going to sit down the same way, and instead of trying to pull with our arms, we are going to try to pull with our anterior chain through muscle flexion. Meaning we're going to start by flexing our tibialis, which is going to pull our toes closer towards our body. We're gonna flex our quadriceps and our hip flexors, which is gonna pull our upper body closer. We're going to flex our abdominals to pull us even deeper, and we're gonna extend our arms and pull our head all the way down. Now, of course, I could help myself, make it easier on myself by pulling like this, but instead of that, we want to learn how to activate our anterior chain to actively stretch our posterior chain. The benefit of that is also that the more you flex the front side, the more the back side will relax all the way by itself. Hold for 10, 20, 30, and release. So now you pretty much have all the tools you need to work on your hamstring mobility. In fact, your entire posterior chain mobility all the way up to your neck. And if you want to include your neck, just go for another neck stretch. So now you have the entire backside fully stretched, fully flexible, and ready to go into a pike position. Sadly, however, this is all the time I have left for you today. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe and check out other videos, because we have new ones on this channel every single day. That's not even a joke. With that said, Captain Cairo, peace out.